Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we go into our topic of discussion. Of course, we're looking at food security and, of course, how to reshape Nigerian conventional farming practice through introduction of mechanized farming, precision agriculture, and, of course, biotechnology into farming practice in Nigeria. Achieving food security require a lot of innovation and, of course, interventions. I'm being joined in the studio by Dr. Rose Gidado. He's the Director of Agricultural Biotechnology Department at NABDA. Glad to have you on Business Daily.
NBRDA. Thank you.
NBRDA, sorry. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you for bringing me here.
All right.
This morning.
Let's start from what we should use, which model we should adopt to redefine our agricultural practice.
The best model to adopt, of course, to redefine agriculture and also enhance economic diversification, is to use science and technology into agriculture. Bringing in science and technology into agriculture will actually help in increasing agricultural productivity, as we demand, and then enhancing food security. Of course, increasing that agri-productivity is very key because of most of the challenges that we are facing now, which is a global challenge, not only in Nigeria. That's the climate change issues. Of course, we have post-harvest losses. We have a lot, of challenges out there. The global warming is not making things easy for us at all. And then low productivities, which of course culminate into low productivity as experienced by our farmers. Most of our seeds are not giving us what we want, the kind of yield that we should have, like say maybe 7 to 10 tons per hectare or 5 tons per hectare. So most of our farmers, harvest, is always either below 1 ton. I can see if they get up to 1.5, that's very, very much. Which other countries, like in the West, especially Europe, in the US, in Canada, in India, even India here, Brazil was, the yields they experience usually from 5 tons upwards. In some cases, like in the case of cassava, I think around Brazil, they experience maybe up to 15 tons per hectare. But over here in Africa, it's never like that because of one, lack of mechanization, and because of lack of improved seeds. We need to improve our seeds, and it's science that will actually, lead us to that seed improvement. The use of science in agric, it's very key, especially the modern biotechnology practice, the use of genetic modification, of course, which has been established, in the US, in Canada, in Brazil, all those high places. They have adopted this technology, and it's actually giving them what they want, and they are food secured, and they export food to other nations, many nations. Even Nigeria imports from them, and it's actually the use of genetic modification that has contributed to the food security
in those countries.
In those countries, yeah.
But there is a concern about the safety. You mentioned genetic
modification. Yes.
Yes, but there's a concern about the safety.
Yes.
Of some of these crops.
Yeah, I know. The safety of genetically modified organisms, like the crops, and maybe products from those crops and all. The safety is being contested, and it's an ongoing, debate globally. It's everywhere. But then the safety of those foods and crops, have been certified and endorsed by specialized agencies of the United Nations, like the World Health Organization, and then we have that is actually a specialized agency in terms of health. They are a reputable, internationally, recognized body in terms of international public health. In terms of nutrition, food and nutrition. And so we have OECD is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So all these bodies together that are internationally recognized, that are specialists in the issue of either health and then food and then standards. In terms of standards, they set standards, of course, for GMOs. Let me just come out to say GMOs. They set standards for these things. And of course, here in Nigeria, we have a National Biosafety Management Agency that was created, with the sole mandate of ensuring the safety of genetically modified foods or organisms generally. Because when I say organisms, it could be food, it could be crops, it could be maybe vaccines, because we have vaccines. Most vaccines are GMOs. And so with the presence of National Biosafety Management Agency, that's NBMA, we are assured of safety of genetically modified crops, because that is what they were established to do, to ensure that all scientists that carry out research and development in this area to actually produce or develop and produce and then commercialize genetically modified crops must comply, must work within the stipulated standards. And of course, NBMA comply to also international standards.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. There is also a push for Nigeria and by extension the rest of Africa to consume more of natural foods. Don't you think using genetically modified organism or using sciences to grow crops is unnatural? Yeah,
the most important thing, they are all natural. The genetic modification is a natural thing, because you are working within the genome, of a crop, whatsoever, because it starts from the seed. The first thing you have to do is to improve that seed, develop that seed. Of course, because you are improving the quality, you are improving the quality of that seed. So the DNA is what the technology is based on, because of the understanding, the discovery of DNA around in 1953 by two scientists, Watson and Crick. Of course, when they discovered the DNA and they discovered that genes are within the DNA, and you know that the genes control our lives, the way we look, the way we are. So it's a natural environment. So, and the improvement is, of course, since genes are responsible for whatever we are, whatever we do and what, even if you are suffering from a disease, there must be a gene in you that is controlling, that disease, a gene in you that is promoting, that is actually promoting that. So if a plant, of course, is, either insects, is susceptible to certain insects, when you plant your seed, you sow the seed and it germinates, begins to form leaves and flowers, and before it goes to forming either pods or whatever. Okay, these insects come, they eat off the leaves, they eat off the flowers, they eat off what? So there must be a gene in your crop that is promoting, that is making the insects to come eat those crops. So when the scientists actually understood where the genes are located in each, inside the DNA and what, okay, they said, okay, we could actually work, by either, work on these genes and maybe either remove them or what, or bring a trait, a gene that is making your plant to be susceptible to certain insects or to be, either susceptible to drought, and so many things, so many other problems. Of course, you can knock off that gene, or you can bring another gene and put in it that will actually silence the other gene, so that your crop, when you grow it, those insects that are coming to destroy the crops and then render the farmer, without much yields, render his yield very low, make his yield to be very low and all those things. And farming is all about having strong harvestable yield. If there's no yield, forget it. There's no, if there's no bumper harvest, the farmer's life remains the same, because there's no economic gain at all.
All right.
So the best is to use the science. Of course, the science of the DNA that is it. You're taking the gene from another biological agent to another biological agent, from one DNA to the other. So you're operating within the biological system. You're not going out of it. In nature, it happens. Gene, yes, in nature, you know, gene changes happen, of course. Like now, if you undergo a heart condition, maybe you're kept in the desert for some, you know, no water, nothing. If you survive in that in that desert, under that condition, of course, a gene must have given up. Yeah.
All right.
So gene modification is there. It happens even naturally.
But how do you think that agriculture based on science and technology might help the Nigerian seed sector overcome food insecurity?
Yeah, it will help a great deal. It will help significantly in the, like I have just explained, it will help in increasing crop yields and what. Because seed is the center. Once the seed is improved, of course, you have done everything in agriculture.
Just before you continue,
seed improvement is very key, very important.
There are those who says the seed cannot be regenerated or it cannot be replanted.
Okay, well, it depends on the type of seed that you use. You know, there are different technologies. You know, before the genetic modification technology, we had what we call a hybridization, hybrid technology. The hybrid technology came before genetic modification technology. And in the hybrid technology, of course, know that you cannot replant. You can actually replant, you know, but because we have what we call the F1s. The F1s actually give much yield. But if you are replanting the F1 to go to F2, the yield you are going to have is not going to be as much as the yield from the F1 seeds. So when genetic modification came in, because that one is, can I say, quality improvement, you know, so it's not for increased yield. Hybridization is for increase in yields. So the scientists decided to combine maybe the two technologies. If you are improving, you are putting the gene into a hybrid seed. Of course, you know, that's, I mean, what you're going to get from that is going to be, they can call it hybrid seed, but it's both GM and hybrid. So if you're putting your gene into a hybrid seed, of course, that replanting issue, I mean, that's F1, you know, segregation of genes and all those things, that factor comes to play. And people don't, it's only the breeders, it's only those in that area that understand what is going on. But generally, people generally would not know. They will say it's the GM technology. It's not from the GM technology. Because, but if you are using an open pollinated variety of seed, you're improving that open pollinated, like the pod borer cowpea that we have in Nigeria. You can actually, most of the
issue
time,
around that is
that's pod borer resistant cowpea. Is an open pollinated seed that was used. It's not a hybrid seed. So the pod borer resistant cowpea, farmers have been replanting with no issue. But seeds generally, with time, you know, with time, the genes tend to, the productivity tend to, generally, you have to keep improving seeds. Generally, even, and that's why our farmers that always plant the unimproved seeds are always ending up with low yields. And it's because of that. Generally, seeds with time, you know, they erode, the strength goes off, and that's it. And that's why seed improvement is very, very key.
Very important.
Very, very important.
But what are we putting in place locally now? Because smallholder farmers are the engine room of our agriculture in the developing, of course, countries like Nigeria. What are we putting in place to ensure that these people are not affected?
What we are putting in place, of course, we have the farmer education, and then we have outreach programs, you know, and then we're also trying to see that regulation of some of these seeds or some of these crops are transparently done so that we can build trust. Building trust is the most important thing because of the misinformation going on, misrepresentation of scientific facts and all about this technology, which is like a global phenomenon and all. And the misrepresentation of the facts, of course, are coming from the environmentalists, people on the other side of the table. And of course, the technology is very, very strong. And its safety has been established in other countries. Many countries that have adopted this technology are food secure today. And so, and Africa wants to be the same. But then in Africa, we have some of this information, the misinformation going on about it and all those things is, of course, what will give us maybe challenge in the adoption of these seeds by farmers. But then generally farmers are open to such technologies that can improve their yields and then transform their livelihood and all. So, and then, but creating market access for them is also very key. Market access, because it's market that actually drives, that's, the farming system. If there's no market, of course, the farmer will pull out. So building trust is one, and then creating markets for some of these, the products or the produce obtained from the cultivation of the genetically modified crops. Of course, very, very key, building trust, and then strengthening our regulatory system such that it is transparent and everything, and such that it ensures safety. Safety is never compromised. Safety is very, very key. At least with safety, consumers can accept. Because without the acceptance of consumers, of course, there'll be no market.
Apart from using technology now, what other method do you think can be deployed for effective productivity?
For effective productivity, we have farm management practices. Even though I have improved a seed, to have, to increase yields and all those things, and then reduce pesticide use. It's one of the, major, breakthroughs. Reducing pesticide use, because reducing pesticide use is also very key, because it's money that the farmers use to buy some of these pesticides to spray. Because on a normal day, those crops that the seeds were not improved. Of course, if you cultivate, you have to do a lot of sprays, like 12 sprays. But with this technology, there's reduction in the pesticide use and all those things. So, like, many factors come into play. Mechanization has to come in and all those things. And then managing your farm, making sure that you do good farm management practices, you plant at the right time, and then maybe you also spray the farm. But with the use of genetically modified seeds, number of sprays reduced from maybe 8-10 sprays down to 2 sprays only. And the 2 sprays are maybe meant for the non-target insects. The insects that the crop was not actually developed to resist. They're the only ones that can affect maybe the crop in one way or the other. But most times, it's the ones that cause the most damaging, ravage on the crops that the crops are actually developed to improve. It's actually one at a time.
All right.
Yeah, you can't do so many things at the same time.
All right. Now let's also look at the pushback. You've been an advocate of use of science and technology to improve yield, to improve seeds and all of that. But there's been a pushback from a lot of farmers in Nigeria. What are you doing to convince them, this group of farmers, to accept this?
Most, like I told you earlier, farmers are open to, any technology that can actually help them go out of poverty. In Africa, farmers have been enslaved into the subsistence farming. Most of them 1 hectare of, just on a 1 hectare. By the next farming season, they're out of food. But any technology that can make them to have that access to that bumper harvest, they don't actually outrightly reject or what. So I don't think we have so much problem in that area, even though they are 50-50. Some because maybe somebody must have given them the misinformation about this, but the technology is actually not is not what people are saying about it. It's not because of regulation. There's no technology that comes into play without opposition, without rejection. Of course, we had the polio vaccine. You know, when the polio vaccine came in newly, I mean, a lot of opposition was into it. They said the northern, especially they said the northern population was going to be wiped out. You know, there were so many things, and some parents, you know,
key into that.
Yes, they key into it and they stop their children. But today, polio is almost eradicated. So you
I
see,
think at a point we're even certified.
thank God. And then even when cars were manufactured initially, total rejection, aeroplanes and all. But today we're all enjoying. The most important thing is every technology must have one or two, you know, things. Maybe some negative things around it, or some challenge, or some what. But then regulation. Stick to regulation. Once you stick to regulation to ensure safety, safety is never compromised in terms of that is the key.
All right.
So that's the key, and that's what should be preached to the farmers.
Finally, now as we wrap up now, it does seem that deploying technology in farming only benefits farmers who are into big time farmers. Maybe those who are more into agribusiness.
Yeah, it doesn't. It benefits all the farmers. It's all round. It doesn't only benefit the big time farmers. Even this is actually meant for the smallholder farmers that have been enslaved into the subsistence farming, so that they can also grow. Because you grow with this technology, of course, on a small piece of land, you can grow your crop and then have a bumper harvest. You know, on a small piece of land, you can, because the seed has been improved. So and once it's improved, of course, it's a qualitative seed, and that's what we want. So it's for the smallholder farmers to begin to also grow big, like they should also become the big time farmers. It's not really meant for the big time people, but meant for the small, to raise them up, to bring them up, of course. And I think that's very, very key.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, that is very key, and we hope that government will key into it so that improving youth is very important.
Government has keyed into it. Nigeria has adopted this technology. It didn't just happen like that. It started since 1992 when Nigeria signed the Convention on Biological Diversity. That treaty, we signed it. And when we signed it, and it is that CBD that gave rise to the Cartagena Protocol, which we also signed and ratified in 2003.
All right.
And so that gave birth to the National Biosafety Management Agency, because each country that is a party to that Cartagena Protocol must also develop her own regulatory framework, which we did. So it didn't just like happen in one day.
It's something that
and Nigeria created the National Biotechnology Research and Development Agency, created the NBMA to promote and then to have safety regulation. So we are good to go. All right. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose Gidado, Director, Agricultural Biotechnology Department at the National Biotechnology Research and Development Agency, NBRDA. I must thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Akogu.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogu.